When people hear Pirates of the Caribbean, they think of movies, fantasy, Hollywood adventure. But long before the films, the Caribbean was one of the most strategic and dangerous regions in the world. Empires fought for it, pirates hunted for it, navies defended it. Puerto Rico wasn't just surrounded by pirates, it was fortified against them, built in stone, built for war, and the walls still stand today. And to understand why Puerto Rico was built this way, you have to go back to the 1500s. Spain had claimed the island not just for settlement, but for strategy. Sitting at the gateway of the Caribbean, Puerto Rico became the key to protecting Spain's New World empire. And when treasure fleets began crossing these waters, so did enemies. The pirates of the Caribbean weren't always reckless outlaws chasing gold. Many were privateers, sailors hired by rival empires to attack enemy ships. Others were smugglers, deserters, or men pushed into piracy by war and survival. They weren't just hunting for treasure, they were fighting for power. And in the 16th and 17th centuries, control of the Caribbean meant everything: trade routes, treasure fleets, empire. And in the middle of it all was Puerto Rico, guarding the entrance to the Caribbean. Every ship from Europe to the Americas passed through these waters. Gold and silver from Mexico and South America moved along these routes bound for Spain. That made San Juan more than a city. It made it a prize, and prizes attract enemies. Puerto Rico's location made it impossible to ignore. Spanish ships carrying gold, silver, and supplies passed these waters constantly. San Juan became one of Spain's most important military posts in the New World. If you wanted to weaken Spain, you came through Puerto Rico, and many did. Pirates, British fleets, Dutch forces, they targeted San Juan Harbor, not for fantasy treasure, but for power, and Puerto Rico prepared accordingly. But none of this power meant anything without movement. The Caribbean was not just a battleground, it was a highway. Spanish ships crossed these waters in carefully guarded fleets carrying gold and silver from the Americas back to Europe. In return came soldiers, weapons, supplies, and settlers. San Juan became a critical stop along this route. Its harbor offered protection, its position offered control. Whoever controlled these waters controlled the flow of wealth between the continents, and in the age of sail, transportation was everything. Puerto Rico didn't just defend itself from pirates, it produced one of its own. Roberto Cofresí was born in Cabo Rojo in the late 1700s during a time when Spain's grip on the Caribbean was weakening and foreign ships crowded these waters. He was a skilled sailor who knew every current, every reef, every hidden cove. To Spanish authorities, he was a criminal, but to many Puerto Ricans struggling under colonial rule and economic hardship, he became something else entirely. Stories say he targeted foreign merchant ships, that he avoided harming locals, that he shared what he seized with the poor. Whether every detail is legend or fact, the memory of him endured. Eventually, Spain and U.S. forces worked together to hunt him down. In 1825, Cofresí was executed in San Juan, but execution ends a life, not a legend. And in Puerto Rico, his name still lingers in the winds off the coast. Legends live in stories, but history leaves marks in stone. While names like Cofresí echo through folklore, the true witnesses to this era still stand along the edge of the sea. Fortress walls, cannon batteries, stone built not for myth but for survival. Puerto Rico's story isn't just one of pirates, it's one of endurance. Roberto Cofresí was not the only threat Puerto Rico faced. Powerful empires also turned their attention toward the island. Sir Francis Drake attempted to break San Juan's defenses in 1595. Dutch forces attacked from land and sea. British fleets circled the harbor, searching for weaknesses. These were not small raids, they were calculated attempts to weaken Spain's control of the Caribbean. But time and again, Puerto Rico held, not by chance, but by design. The island was not only targeted, it was engineered to withstand attack. El Morro San Cristóbal, the walls of Old San Juan. For centuries, these fortresses have stood between Puerto Rico and invasion, and still the threats kept coming. Every angle, every cannon placement, every stone, designed with purpose. The walls were built thick enough to absorb impact. The elevation gave defenders the advantage. The harbor was visible long before enemy ships could approach. This was not luck, it was engineering, it was preparation, and it worked. Time and again, Puerto Rico did not wait for danger, it prepared for it. Empires came and left, but Puerto Rico remained. Today, people walk these forts for the views, but they were built to protect lives, to defend families and a city. The real pirates of the Caribbean were not characters in a film. They were sailors. They were empires. They were real threats that shaped this island's history. And through it all, Puerto Rico endured, not by accident, but by resilience. Before Hollywood, there was history. Hollywood gave us cursed gold, immortal pirates, and legends that refused to die. But the real Caribbean was different. The real pirates were not myths. They were shaped by empires, by war, by survival. And Puerto Rico stood at the center of it all. Empires changed, flags changed, threats came and went, but the island endured, not because of pirates, but because of its people. Before the movies, before the legend, there was history, and Puerto Rico was ready. If stories like this matter to you, the history, the culture, the resilience of Puerto Rico, consider subscribing and sharing this video. These stories deserve to be remembered.